Motorcycles can be pretty darn fast. They're small, light, and usually outfitted with high-revving engines that will leave practically any bike on the market with a power-to-weight ratio higher than 90% of commuter cars on the road. But the motorcycles attainable to us mere mortals pale in comparison to the uncompromising, otherworldly machines built by professional bike builders and race teams. There are drag bikes raced on the strip, streamliners for salt flats, and highly tuned sport bikes on the racing circuits. Today, we're going to look at the culture of extreme, high-speed motorcycles and some of the absolutely insane bikes dominating those categories. Let's get into it. Motorcycle land speed racing has been an official sanctioned racing event since the early years of motorcycling, with the first event being held way back in 1903. Some ancient motorcycling there, folks. Races have been hosted all over the world, but for the last 75 years or so, the Bonneville Salt Flats in Utah has been the premier venue. In the early 1900s, motorcycle manufacturers and enthusiasts began actively pursuing speed records, leading to the development of specialized racing motorcycles. Notable early pioneers of land speed racing include Glenn Curtis, who set a record of 136.4 miles per hour in 1907 on a V8 powered motorcycle. That record stood for over 20 years. You really have to appreciate the massive set of stones on these men, hitting 600 squid speeds on rickety contraptions made of spare bicycle parts and scrap metal on the early 1900s V8. I mean, come on. There were probably open flames and oil spewing out of this thing constantly while it was going 136 miles an hour over salt, which is basically like gravel. He basically went off-road. Land speed racing experienced significant growth in the years between World War I and World War II, with riders and manufacturers pushing the limits of speed and tech. Ernest Henn set a new record of 174.5 miles per hour on a 1937 supercharged BMW motorcycle, a record that stood for 14 years. Land speed racing saw a resurgence in popularity after World War II, with new records being set on a regular basis. After the war, racers were actively in search of cresting the 200-mile-an-hour mark. In 1948, Rolly Free famously set a record of 150.3 miles per hour while lying prone on a modified Vincent Black Shadow bike, wearing only a bathing suit. We've talked about this moment before, and I think I made the joke that his choice to ride nearly naked was not due to producing aerodynamic drag, but instead because of the sheer intensity of his previous attempt led him to having an accident in his race suit. But seriously, these men were just built different. Burt Munro's heavily modified Indian Scout was featured in the movie The World's Fastest Indian, where he was portrayed by Anthony Hopkins. The World's Fastest Indian made land speed motorcycle racing and the streamliners upon which riders reached unfathomable speeds more visible to non-rider audiences. I think when a lot of Americans think of the Bonneville Salt Flats, they think of classic streamliners like those portrayed in the film. Burt Munro set multiple records aboard his Indian and is a notable figure in land speed racing history. The modern era of land speed racing is characterized by increasingly specialized and technologically advanced bikes. The current land speed record holder for a motorcycle is held by Rocky Robinson, because of course he's called that, who rode the Ack Attack Streamliner to a speed of 376.4 miles per hour in 2010. And of course, the motorcycle that allowed the Ack Attack team to set this record was a Turbo Hayabusa, baby. The Ack Attack is powered by two heavily modified Suzuki Hayabusa engines, with a displacement totaling 2,600 cc's across 8 cylinders. These engines are turbocharged and intercooled, producing a combined output of over 900 horsepower. Those are power outputs that are just incomprehensible to motorcycle riders. The Streamliner is capable of reaching speeds in excess of 400 miles per hour thanks to the immense power generated by these engines. I'm pretty sure if you were to come off at that speed, no amount of protection could really save you. I think you're going so fast that you would just disintegrate. Another notable contender is the Triumph Castrol Rocket, designed to challenge the land speed record. This Streamliner is powered by two turbocharged Triumph Rocket 3 engines, delivering over 1,000 horsepower and 500 foot-pounds of torque. Although it hasn't surpassed the Ack Attack's record, it represents the ongoing efforts and advancements in motorcycle land speed racing tech. I think the men and women that participate in this sort of thing are absolutely deranged. Land speed record holders are nuts, and you would never catch me on a twin-turbo Hayabusa going 300 miles per hour. Or would you? Maybe I'd do it. Nah, I've got a kid on the way, I can't be doing that. Motorcycle drag racing can trace its origins back to the early days of motorcycling when riders would challenge each other to informal races on public roads. The sport became more organized in the 50s and 60s with the establishment of dedicated drag strips and organized racing events. As a side note, it's kind of crazy how informal racing was in the 50s and 60s. Consumers would just buy cars at dealerships and just kind of go racing. The lines between professional and consumer and enthusiasts were really blurry. I mean, guys like James Dean were literally professional racing car drivers, so it's kind of weird. Drag racing involves two participants lining up at a drag strip with a signaled starting line. And when the signal is given, the riders accelerate down a straight paved track, either a quarter mile or an eighth of a mile, where their elapsed time and terminal speed are recorded. The rider who reaches the finish line first is declared the winner. It is the purest form of racing. The pro stock bike category is the most well-known form of motorcycle drag racing, but other categories such as Top Fuel and Pro Street also exist. In the 60s and 70s, motorcycle drag racing grew in popularity, with riders and manufacturers pushing the limits of speed and performance. The introduction of specialized drag racing motorcycles with powerful engines and lightweight frames revolutionized the sport. Drag bikes are purpose-built machines designed specifically for drag racing with the focus on maximizing acceleration and speed in a straight line. They are highly specialized and differ significantly from normal motorcycles in terms of design, performance, and purpose. Drag bikes, like any good high-speed machine, of course, have highly tuned and modified engines to maximize power output, but they vary greatly from other bikes in their overall geometry, where in order to accelerate as quickly as possible, their wheelbase must be stretched and elongated to avoid flipping over backwards. Although from the videos I've seen online, it still seems to happen quite a bit. But I suppose you can't believe every video you'd see online. If that were the case, a lot of step siblings would be in serious trouble. Drag bikes may feature streamlined bodywork and fairings to reduce aerodynamic drag and improve performance as well. As a side note, I often think that drag bikes that have a wheelie bar, in a moment, become front-wheel drive vehicles. Think about it. The wheel that's touching the ground is in the front, it's putting the power down, and then you got two little wheels in the back. Some notable milestones in the world of motorcycle drag racing include, in 1978, Elmer Trett became the first motorcycle drag racer to break the 7-second barrier, setting a new record with a time of 7.89 seconds. Larry Spider-Man McBride is one of the most famous drag racers in history, and in 2001, he became the first motorcycle drag racer to break the 6-second barrier with a record-setting time of 6.94 seconds. Elmer Trett is considered to be by many the greatest motorcycle drag racer ever. Before his death in 1996 at Indianapolis Raceway Park, Trett recorded a 6.06. I also love how every motorcycle drag racer is called something like Larry McBride or Elmer Trett. I feel like you have to have a racer name to be a racer. Like, you couldn't be a racer if your name was Jonathan McLovin, or maybe that would be the best name ever. The pro stock motorcycle category features production-based motorcycles with naturally aspirated engines. These bikes are highly modified for performance and compete in a heads-up, first-across-the-line format. Top Fuel is the premier class in motorcycle drag racing, featuring the fastest and most powerful motorcycles. These bikes are powered by nitromethane-fueled engines and make upwards of 1,500 horsepower and can reach speeds exceeding 250 miles per hour. From a standing start, they can cover the first 60 feet in less than a second and reach 200 miles per hour in less than an eighth of a mile. Look, I don't know if you guys can really comprehend how absolutely insane that is. I reached 211 miles per hour in a mile, and that was me babying the throttle on a really powerful H2. These guys are reaching 200 in less than an eighth of a mile. I feel like it's just a blur at that point. The current world record for fastest quarter-mile time held by the aforementioned Top Fuel veteran Larry Spider-Man McBride, who covered the quarter mile in 5.5 seconds at 264 miles per hour on November 21st, 2019. McBride also holds the record for the fastest motorcycle run in drag racing history, reaching 268 miles per hour in 1,320 feet at the 2022 Virginia NHRA Nationals. That is just... I feel like your brain would leave your body. I don't know. Look, I know it's banana yellow to you, but Suzuki calls this color on the GSX-8R Pearl Ignite Yellow. It's actually very pretty in person, and you will get loads of looks while you're riding it because guess what? I am giving this bike away to a lucky member in the audience. I've given away over 51 motorcycles valued at over $500,000 in the last 5 years. It's been the coolest part about running this channel, and we just keep doing cool bikes all the time. Head over to YamiNoob.co and pick out a t-shirt, a hat, a hoodie, whatever you'd like, and every dollar you spend on the store will be an entry to win the bike, and who knows, we might even have a sweet multiplier going on right now. So head over to the store, check it out, and don't miss it. Then there is, of course, motorcycle circuit racing, which includes events like MotoGP and World Superbike, both of which I am big fans of. If you ever want to talk shop with me about MotoGP, join the Discord, go to the Track Days channel. I am there all the damn time. Motorcycle circuit racing can trace its origins back to the early 1900s when motorcycle races were held on closed public roads or makeshift tracks. Again, like I said, in those early days, they would just race anywhere. They didn't care. The first official motorcycle road racing event is often credited to the Isle of Man TT, which began in 1907 and remains one of the most prestigious races in the world, mainly due to the fact that it's absolutely crazy. In the early days, motorcycle circuit racing was often conducted on dirt tracks or cinder tracks, with riders competing on bikes that were not much more different than road-going motorcycles. And as the sport evolved, specialized racing bikes were developed and circuits dedicated to motorcycle racing were built, featuring paved tracks and challenging layouts. The MotoGP World Championship, established in 1949, is the premiere of motorcycle racing series, featuring races on circuits around the world and attracting the best riders and teams in the world. The MotoGP season typically consists of around 20 races held at different circuits around the year, plus or minus 2 races here and there if Kazakhstan or India can get their stuff together. Each race weekend includes practice sessions, qualifying sessions, and the race itself. And nowadays you also have sprint races on Saturday for MotoGP. The race distance is usually around 100 to 130 kilometers, with racing lasting approximately 40 to 45 minutes. Each race features a grid of up to 24 riders, each representing a different team or manufacturer. Riders are categorized into different classes based on experience and results. The main categories nowadays are MotoGP, Moto2, and Moto3, with MotoGP being the premier class. Points are awarded to the top 15 finishers in each race, and the winner receiving 25 points, second place receiving 20, and so on and so forth. And at the end of the season, the rider with the most points is declared the MotoGP World Champion. We'll see this year if Jorge Martin is going to battle Pecco Bagnaia for that title, or perhaps Marc Marquez is going to come from behind and somehow make it a champion on a satellite bike. Or maybe Pedro Acosta will surprise us all and be a rookie champion. I don't know, it's crazy. MotoGP bikes must meet specific, highly technical regulations regarding engine size, weight, and other components. MotoGP bikes use highly tuned 4-stroke liquid-cooled engines with capacities up to 1,000 cc's, although that is set to change to an 850cc limit by 2027, which, oh my god, everybody has so much to say about the frickin' 850cc MotoGP bikes that are coming out now. It's just ridiculous. Guys, they just got too fast. It makes sense. Don't worry about it. They're gonna be great. It's fine. MotoGP bikes also feature aerodynamic bodywork designed to reduce drag and improve stability at high speeds. Winglets and other aerodynamic aids are used to generate downforce. Now, that is also another very contentious point because aerodynamics has often been touted as ruining the sport because it makes it harder to pass with the dirty air and all that stuff, so yeah. The minimum weight of a GP bike is 346 pounds, leading to an absolutely insane power-to-weight ratio. These bikes can reach top speeds of over 220 miles per hour on tracks with long straight sections. The fastest motorcycle ever raced in MotoGP set a top speed record of 226 miles per hour. Our Lord and Savior Rossi became a household name in MotoGP during the early 2000s. He won multiple world championships, 9 if we want to be specific. Marc Marquez is still trying to get up there with his rivalry, and he's been a dominant force since 2013 on his debut as a rookie. He's won 8 world champions, 6 in the premier class, and broken numerous records, including his arm. MotoGP really leads the charge for technological innovation for high-performance motorcycles. A lot of industry milestones first appeared in GP bikes before being distilled down into production models. And if I had it my way, I would literally talk about MotoGP once a week on this channel, but that video would get like 3,000 views, so I can't do that. Again, if you want to talk with me about MotoGP, join on YamiNoob.co, and I will literally talk your ear off in the Track Days channel. Seriously. And some motorcycle builders pursue ungodly speeds and accomplish unfathomable feats outside of any official sanctioned racing events just to show that they can. One such example is Whole Shot Racing founder Jared Frost. Frost has built a motorcycle that was able to reach a top speed of 275 miles per hour. This isn't on a nitro-fueled drag bike or a salt flat streamliner. It is, of course, none other than a Turbo Hayabusa. This speed was reached at the Elvington Airfield, beating out the previous record of 271 miles per hour. The former record holder was, of course, Isle of Man racer Guy Martin, who reached 271 on a Busa of his own. Frost reported to have hit 269.9 miles an hour countless times in the standing mile, but the 270 mark eluded him until after further modifications to his machine, he was able to reach all the way to 275. His 2010 Busa has been fully built. It has performance pistons, rods, and cams. It is, of course, turbocharged with a blow-off valve and intercooler made by Whole Shot Racing themselves. The Crown Busa is producing between 700 and 750 horsepower. It uses carbon fiber wheels and fairings, Olin suspension, Brembo brakes. Front's 275 mile per hour Turbo Busa is the Turbo Busa that we all want but cannot have. A bike that makes a cool, reliable 750 horsepower, perfect for commuting or a leisure triple-digit speed on the airstrip. If you've been a viewer for a little bit, you may have remembered that I've done my own dance with the devil with typically unachievable speeds. I owned a fully built Kawasaki H2 that was making around 300 wheel horsepower when I bought it. It had been tuned, had a modified supercharger, had bigger injectors, and it ate batteries for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And before giving that bike away during a Yami Noob giveaway, I made it a goal to go over 200 miles an hour with it. And at the Texas Mile, I was able to reach 211 miles per hour while barely having the throttle halfway open. That was truly insane. I also owned a 300 wheel horsepower Turbo Hayabusa because I have a drug addiction. But since the inception of motorcycling, the racing events and the way the bikes are modified in order to outclass the competition represents the upper echelon of motorcycling engineering, skill, and frankly, insanity. From the feats of land speed racing to the precision and agility of a MotoGP bike, these events showcase the relentless pursuit of speed and performance. The evolution of motorcycles from early road-going models to specialized racing machine reflects the constant push for innovation and excellence in the world of motorcycling. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of the video. This was a really fun one to put together. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit that subscribe button if you're itching for more premium motorcycle content, and I will catch you guys later. Fact: the longest time someone has spent holding their breath underwater is 24 minutes and 37 seconds. Was that David Blaine that did that? I don't know. Goodbye. You've made it to the end of another Yami Noob video. As a treat for you, I will clue you into the best way to support the show, and it's by going over to yaminoob.co and signing up to win this GSX-8R. It's not for very long. Time is running out to win it, so make sure you head over to the website and go and check it out. But in the meantime, you can watch this next video right over here and keep indulging in some sweet, sweet squid content.